You give it a little bit of time. I'm going to tweet it out again. Let some people come in, PSX.
No worries. Sound check. Sounds like everything's A-okay. Whoops.
David, is Renzo showing up? Oh, there he is. Cool. All right, we're going to kick it off in about 30 seconds, guys. As soon as I get confirmation that everyone's on the speaker panel, then I'll start. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to episode 14. And with me is the podcast co-host, producer, the infamous X-Terra Rebel, PSX.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Happy to help where I can. As a quick disclaimer, this podcast should not be considered financial advice. The content of this broadcast here and or other platforms are for educational and entertainment purposes only, and to cite our own personal opinions. In order to make the best financial decision that suits your needs, please conduct your own research and seek the advice from a licensed financial advisor if necessary. With that, over back to you, Jerry.
Today's guest, we have David Gobelt and Renzo from the Luna Classic Burn Project. So, Luna Classic, are you ready to get based? But before we begin, quick announcement. If you support the L1 Task Force, consider delegating with the Lunk Development Fund Validator, where your tokens are auto-compounded with 50% of profits going to burns and 50% is sent to the L1 Task Force. I will take a moment to show my own project, Luna Sapiens NFTs, because they can make you an overnight success in life and also with your wife. That's also not financial advice or marital advice. Join our Discord for updates and cool giveaways. I'll put a link in the nest momentarily with what we have. And with that, let's get started with David and Renzo. Welcome.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I will say that so far this is one of the more entertaining spaces I've been in, and we're just getting started, right?
We try
Pretty
to do our
much.
best.
Great. Did you guys want to cover some news or anything else first before we got into the project?
Yeah, we'll just go with the flow. But I guess what we could do is let's start at the beginning. How was your life as a child?
Oh boy, you're gonna make me start crying. So many tears are coming out right now. So yeah, we'll start with the talking about the project. I mean, I'll let David go first. He usually goes first because I don't know, he's a good intro man, I guess.
Sounds good to me. All right, David.
I feel like I need notes or something. I did take some notes though, because Renzo was asking me about some projections I made based on the curve growth, and I actually have those this time, so that'll be good. So you just want us to start from the beginning, like, you know, or just explain the project?
Let's start with how you two met and where the idea came from. Let's start there first, because I think having a little bit of backstory is going to help people understand where this all came from and where it's going.
Yeah, so I guess around fall of last year is when Renzo reached out to me. He had made the L1 project on Solana, and then was looking to release it somewhere else. And you know, we had tried to get it on. So yeah, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I have this project called uses a token bonding curve, and I want to burn Luna Classic with it." So we first deployed it on Luna, and it got some interest there. and we burned some, and we set that token up different. It had a steeper curve, so it was a little more volatile. And it wasn't set up as like a long-term investment. It was like, hey, you can kind of speculate with this token and burn Luna Classic at the same time. But there's a big demand for projects that are actually running on Luna Classic. I felt like there's a lot of people. That's one reason why I supported Terraport, because I was like, even though there's other dexes out there, I was like, this is something that we built, as a community, and it's going to be running on our chain, and it's going to give people hope, and so that's so I pushed to have us deploy on Luna Classic so that we could have that. There was difficulties at first because the chain wasn't working right, but Renzo got it all running. Talked to the right people. Yeah, that's how we met. You want me to talk about the project more, or?
Sure. Like, how did it start? Like, I guess you just kind of explained that, but I guess what everyone's going to want to know is, will it make us rich?
When Lambo?
I knew that question was going to come out.
I want Lambo.
I hope it does. I mean, it's more of a, not a get rich quick, like where you try to game like a meme token. It's more like and this is designed to be this way with the tax also. You put your money in there longer term, and then once we have the quick release tool enabled, then you'll be able to unstake quickly without waiting. Versus a 21-day unbonding. Right now it's still a 21-day unbonding though. PSX, do you have a question for me?
Yeah, I do. So there's been like multiple proposals regarding the tax increase or decrease, or what. It's so hard for me to keep up with, but I haven't had time to look further into details. With your project, I mean, how does that affect the project? Whether say like if it goes up or it goes down, like does that affect the project in any kind of way, or the investors? Like what's going on behind the scenes as far as trying to keep up with it? What does that look like, and where do those who are connected to this project, how does that impact them?
Hey, David, let me start this one off. So yeah, the tax, which is it's good to always have that, right, for what we're trying to achieve as a community. What was a little troublesome and a little bit complicated to actually deploy on the Classic versus the Terra 2 was that the fact that tax was in there, and then there was an extra calculation that would cause a lot of transactions to fail, just because it was something that was like added after the fact, right? And so they strapped it on, put some duct tape on there, and yeah, it works, but it is a little clunky, and I mean it still is, right? So what developers are starting to have to do is that 0.2% tax. They were actually padding that a little bit even more, just to make sure that transactions didn't fail, because that it was failing mostly there and not because of not enough gas, right? But no matter what, the fees were gone for good. So that creates a little bit of an issue. So now with the 0.5, I'm going to go back into the code and I believe swap that. Excuse me. Obviously, swap that out to update it. But again, it's good because we're going to collect more, right, to burn. But now we're having to pad even a little bit more to make sure that people don't start losing too much money on transaction fees, because that gets pretty frustrating. So right now, we can get into tokenomics in a little bit here, but because we're just talking about the burn tax, we're setting aside 0.6%, which we thought that was pretty good, because if the chain tax was 0.2, 3 times that, and you add those together, we're doing something. Now with the 5%, obviously, on the chain tax, we are going to have to, and I haven't gotten a chance to talk to Dave about this, so obviously we got some thinking to do and make sure we do this right. But our overall burn is going to have to, the tax that we're burning 0.6%, obviously that's going to have to go up. I don't know if we can go up three times, like we were doing before. Maybe 2 times. Maybe we're burning, I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out. I don't want to throw any numbers out there right now. So just to answer your question, I think it's gonna the impacts, right? So developers, I'm just talking about myself right now, but I know other developers out there are going to run into the same issues. Is that changing the tax constantly is going to cause, I think, some friction there as far as DApps working correctly. Maybe just like from the initial transition. So that's something to look out for. Awesome, we're going to be burning more, right? But at the same time, we got to give people the incentive because, and I'll talk about this a little bit more. Burning more is good, right? When it's somebody else's money, but we just gotta balance all that stuff out. David, I'll let you go ahead and address this question also.
Oh, I don't really have anything to add. The 0.5%. I mean, I think it's better if we keep the taxes lower. I did read a link in the proposal that said that that basically the DApps would be exempt from it, but I'm not sure if there will be any complications with that or if that will work properly.
So I think the DApps will be so part of the execution messages and all that will be exempt according to the proposal, but DApps still have obviously ours still sends lunk around, so that still gets taxed even through a DApp.
Well, I got to tell you guys, I think you were in Ivan's space previously, and you've been in some other spaces talking about this. I feel like you guys gained some traction recently, and the reason I say that is I spoke with Ivan, and he told me you need to get some of that. And I went into the application myself, and I felt it was easy to navigate. However, a lot of people in here might not know where to go, know what to do. Could you kind of tell us what's the easiest way to at least give it a look and see if they're interested in doing it?
Yeah, so I'm going to go take a couple steps back here. And we started talking about how we began, and I think it's appropriate probably to address it here, and then we can go into navigating the DApp. So the reason why I even started thinking about this, even before I got a hold of David, was because one day I was, I was interested in the burns and all that, and then I started reading about token bonding curves and how they're an appropriate tool to use for fundraising, for community-based fundraising. And so that I was like, oh, that's kind of like what we're trying to do, right? We're a community. We're trying to raise money to burn some tokens. This would be perfect, right? And the problem though was that the first white paper that I wrote for Salon, I got real technical, and I'm like that, right? I'm a technical kind of guy, so I was putting in all these formulas and the integral of that, the derivative of that, and it just people don't understand it, right? So we had so for the next two versions of the white paper, I started stripping some of that more technical stuff out, and then just to get people to read it, because that's really what I want people to do, right? Or what we want. We want them to read it and then give us feedback. We've always said this is a community project. Obviously, I'm handling a piece of it. Dave is handling a piece. We got Crypto Homeless handling the comms as much as he can. And I think there's a couple other people that want to jump on board and help out. And so all that's great, right? We love when people reach out to us and want to volunteer. I mean, so it's on a volunteer basis, right? It's a community. It's almost like I don't know if I can call it a nonprofit, but we always have our doors open for people to come and help, so we can figure this out together as a community. Now, going to the DApp, what you will see is that it really looks a lot like. I see here. I'm on the main page here. It's got the two graphs. So I'll talk about that because I just pulled it up and I see something really interesting on the base price on the USD one. So what people need to understand is that the reason why you're seeing that uptrend is because more people are getting involved, and that's a characteristic of the token bonding curve and how it works. And I'll talk about that more in a little bit. But then realize that's one of the main reasons why it's going up is more people are jumping in. The more you buy, the higher the price goes. Like I said, I'll talk about that in a second. But on the left-hand side, I don't know if you guys have this open or not, and anybody who has that D app open can see that when we're looking at the price based on the USD, there's actually a dip. It actually comes down, even though the price based on LUNC is still trending up. The reason for that is because the price of LUNC to against the USD has dropped, right? But each of the tokens, the base tokens, is still worth that many LUNC, right? So I just want people to understand when you're looking at these two graphs here, why they move kind of in a lot. They move together, but sometimes you'll see some things that are independent of each other, and that's what we'll see here. Now, obviously, when we're at 0.4089 on the LUNC, when that pops up to 990, you'll see it. You'll see the one on the left-hand side. If you're looking at it on the desktop, you'll see that graph pop back up. And so that's interesting that there's two different graphs, two different prices. But I wanted to explain that. Again, this is something that characteristic of a token bonding curve. We've got some details there below. You can see how many wallets and all that. And then I did try to explain a little bit on how everything is built, going lower down into the website. I don't know if many people scroll down that far. And then we got some pictures of some ugly people down at the bottom, as well as some contact information. But really what you want is the swap page, right? So when we walk over to the swap page, what you'll see, it looks a lot like just about every other swap page because they basically all work the same way, right? And people are not reinventing the wheels here when it comes to swaps or the way that you create the UI. But even though it looks like a regular swap, it's working differently behind the scenes as the automated market makers that most people are used to. And the reason for that is that there's only a single pool of one asset in a token bonding curve instead of like two or more in a traditional AMM. But again, we tried to keep that looking the same for everybody. Now I did include, I tried to include the price of both tax and non-tax on the other page. Here it's just the tax because we want people to know that as close to the price as they're going to get. Obviously, you can move around a little bit once you hit the swap button. So I don't think there's any huge surprises there. There is actually one more thing on here that you wouldn't normally see. And all the way on the right-hand side, there's a base available number. Right now, it's sitting at 449,664, and it says base available, right? That means that the community, people out there, can only buy that many right now. Why? Because that's all that the miners have actually mined for us at this moment. So as miners turn in their blocks, you'll see that number increase. Now, I don't think that we're going to get down to like zero or anything because, again, the more base is being bought, the more that it's bought, the higher the price. So people are buying. That number is going to go down a little slower, right? But it is interesting because you wouldn't find. Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry. PS6 has a question. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I'll let you interrupt me there. Okay,
Yeah,
I see his hand.
I mean, you're on a flow, and I didn't want to. It's like, man, okay. So there were two things that I'm really curious about. Just to add clarity for the first point, when you were talking about the bonding curve and the base price, the graphs that you mentioned, those are the two graphs that are on the landing page. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, and I say left and right because on a desktop they appear next to each other, but I think if you're on mobile, it's one above the other.
Yeah, no, I'm on a desktop as well, so I'm just following along as you're explaining it. So I just want to make sure like I understood that correctly. And then the second key, the second part. Well, initially it was just one question, and it turned into two. You said minor. So I mean, like I have a very curious. I get real curious, and you said minors. What do you? Can you explain or expand on that or provide additional clarity? Because like miners, like I'm thinking like the only thing that you would need to mine it if you're either, well, if you were still on Ethereum proof of work, or in this case Bitcoin. That now I'm wondering if
Yeah.
if I'm about to get mind fucked here.
Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, what do
you
you mean
mentioned too.
mining?
You mentioned two tokens, right? You mentioned Ethereum and you mentioned Bitcoin. Obviously, there's
Right.
like hundreds of proof of work tokens out there,
Right.
and there's a ton of consensus mechanisms, or I'm sorry, algorithms. Um,
Right.
but if you wouldn't mind, can I
Yeah, yeah,
put
keep going,
a question
keep doing your
on
thing.
ice right now?
I was like, can we? I was like, I'm hoping we'll get into that if we have time. Again, yeah, but it really, you kind of, it's like, huh, what's going on here?
I want to let everyone know that
Okay,
I put the link to the app above if they want to follow along with what you're talking about.
sweet, very nice, guys. I can only do one thing at a time here, so I'm talking. Everybody else has to do stuff for me.
Yeah.
No,
No
so
worries, keep going. Sorry.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And then last thing here on this swap page is you'll see at the top it says buy base, get 114% APY. You look at that and you're like, there's no way. But there is, because we're getting 14% for the validators, and then our project is providing the other 100% of the APY there. So we're doing that because we want to reward the community as we come together, right? And we're still sending the link out to the validators that we have. So that's where the 14% comes from. Like, we're not doing anything weird with that. The rest of it is our way of building up this project and making sure that people get rewarded accordingly. Now, again, it's kind of cheap now, right? Things are cheap. So when I say 114%, that's something that we can, David and I can handle, right? At some point, it's going to become too expensive. And that's why in the white paper, I don't know if you guys have that pulled up or read it, there's a little table on there, and it talks about our projected APY as we go forward. It was like, let me see, I got the white paper here. I can just pull it up real quick. So I had it set for 100% on that table up until we got to 100 million lunk in the reserve. I didn't realize we were going to hit that quick. So we're still, and then it was going to drop down to 80% until we get to 200,000 lunk in the reserve. So I just kept it at 100 because I was like, well, I didn't realize it was that fast. At some point, it will have to start following that table a little closer and come down in APY. So no smoke and mirrors there. Everything is legit there. And then the last part of the D app, really, because there's only really 3 pages, is the affiliate link. So if you click on that, and if you don't have a wallet created, it's gonna say, hey, connect your wallet, and then you'll get an affiliate link. So what this does, and it really, the only thing that generating the affiliate link does, it's the same link as a normal D app, except at the very end it says AF, so affiliate equals, and then it's your wallet address. Essentially, what you're passing in, and then we're passing into the smart contract, is the same swap information we always do. Now, if this value is there, then it will pass, the D app will pass into the smart contract. Hey, this is the wallet for the affiliate. And it takes taxes first, right? Because we need to do our burns. We need to take care of business there and get the rewards, 1.8% rewards to the community. But then after that, it will take a percentage off of the lunk, provide that to the affiliate, and then keep going down, and then does everything else the same way it normally would. So it just slices a little bit off of the lunk after taxes have been taken out. And it's a really long URL, right? But tiny URL out there to shorten that. There's a bunch of other ones. I thought about just implementing that, but I was like, if somebody's really interested, I mean, goodness, it's just it's just another 2 minutes to get a short URL. They can do that on their own. It says 3% commission. The smart contract is actually set up for 5%, so I got to change that on the website. Any questions on that one though?
Yeah. So how do the rewards work? Because I know you said 114% APY. Where are the users going to see it? Is it just going to be airdropped? Is it just going to happen, or how does it work?
All right, let's get into the token bonding curve, because I think that's probably a nice segue to it. So Here's what's nice about a token bonding curve and why we're not the regular cut and paste cookie cutter type project that works on Burn and Lunk. First of all, you got to be on this chain, right, to be legit. No, I'm just kidding. Those other projects are good too on Binance Smart Chain, but we do provide that additional burn because of the tax burn. Okay, so the token bonding curve. So you guys need to go back to like when you were in middle school and you're in math class, maybe algebra, right? And you're graphing
Ew,
y equals.
school, gross, algebra.
Yeah, exactly. So all a token bonding curve is, it sounds really, really fancy. All it is just a formula. It specifies that the price of a token is going to be y on the y-axis, based on the supply of that token. So as you move further to the right on the x-axis, the price, the y-axis, the value will actually rise, and that's what you'll see if you're on page 4 of the white paper. You'll see it's an S curve because that's the way that real projects kind of mature, start off, then grow and then mature into a final project, a final product. In our case, our product is having base essentially being leveraged to burn Lunk. All right, so that's a token bonding curve. It's really not that difficult. What will flip your mind a little bit here is the fact that the price is not set. So the price is set with the amount of tokens. So the more tokens you have, the higher the price. Usually people are used to the more tokens you have, the lower the price. And that's why a lot of these other projects they'll create a gajillion coins in the beginning, right? They'll do a little bit of a pre-sale here or there. And then what they do is they do burns of that token, right? And to try to get that supply down. And if you get the supply down, then everybody's value comes up. Well, that's cool and it works, but if you go to the very beginning, you just created a million jillion tokens out of thin air. And that's probably that's kind of I don't know about that. Token bonding curves will not mint a token until the Lunk is deposited. You have to put in Lunk in order to get a coin out, which is the reason why it's the inverse of what other projects, right? So base doesn't get more valuable when its supply is reduced. It gets more valuable when the actual circulating supply is higher. There's more demand, the price goes up, right? Because people are buying base. There's less demand, people are selling it, so the price comes down. Just normal supply and demand type of stuff going on here. So that was, I forgot what the original question was, but I know it had something to do with token bonding curves, so I went in that direction.
Oh, it was just like
It was
what was rewards? How you see the rewards?
Oh, okay, and you got your hand up, right? And so it's the same question, right? Same deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I had
So
a
the
different
rewards.
question, but go ahead with that one.
Yeah. And so the way the rewards work, so there's two types of rewards. So I said that we can't burn tokens, right? I can't just burn a token and increase everybody's value. More tokens have to be created, right? So we take the 114% every day that we get, and that is used to essentially buy back base. That's what everybody's used to hearing, but you're really purchasing more base, and when you do that, you bring the price up. Now that base gets locked up and it will never be cashed out, which is key, right? Because the price is up, and now those that have bought base can turn in, and if they want to sell, they can sell at a higher price. So that's 114%. And then additionally, in our tokenomics, we have 1.8% that goes into what's called a yield, right? Yield fund, I guess. And that's 1.8%. And so that goes into same deal. It's just another pot of money that goes through. And so what you'll see is that yield percentage that stays the same, but the amount that it actually generates will actually, vary or go up and down depending on how many people are actually getting in to buy, because that only increases with the buy and the sell. Now, the 114% APY, that should just go up in time if we have more staked, right? That should just continue to creep up, where the other one can kind of go up and down a little bit. So that's the way that we work rewards. A lot of people get wrapped up around the axle. They're like, but I don't have any more base. You're not giving me base. And it's like, no, if you bought 100 base, let's say at 10 lunk, you're still gonna have 10 base when it's like when the price is 100 lunk per base, but you're multiplying it by a higher number, right? A higher price. So you do get that reward. Again, we can't make up coins out of thin air. It just can't happen.
Okay, so the reward's directly reflected with the value of the token.
The price, right?
Gotcha.
That's why we say it's kind of, I mean, all you got to do is buy the base and hold, really. I mean, if you don't hold, if you go short term with it, it's probably not going to work out well. I mean, hey, the community will be happy because you just donated taxes times twice, you know, so the community can be very happy. But really, if you're looking to, like, I'm not promising none of us are going to promise any profits, right? But I mean, if you look at it and you look at the way the price is moving, you know that if you hold, you can kind of figure out what might happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I
afterwards.
like the system, how you guys got it set up. It's kind of something that I would like to participate in, right? Because I typically do hold long term, and I know there's a lot of day traders out there. That's not me. I usually kind of look for nice things in the bear market, and then I kind of wait for, long term till the bull market comes. But also had another question. So since it's proof of work, when will be the time where there's no more mining, or are you planning on doing some type of halving situation like Bitcoin?
Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna address the mining. So there's another project out there is doing really, really well, right? They've got really high burns. So if I think they've burned like 2 billion lunk or so. If we did the same thing and instead of just straight up burning the lunk, but actually lock it up, take it out of circulation, right? By staking it, the base would be worth 3 cents, right? So it's less than a cent now, right? So if we did the same thing that other same type of traffic and buying, right? That other project did, somebody could, I mean, everybody actually would triple the amount of money they have, right? Invested. But I'm just saying it's very possible. I think staking and burning both take coins out of circulation. I want to talk more about that later. But for right now, let's go into the mining. All right. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't really want to go to jail, right? I mean, I got a decent life. I got family I love. I'm trying to stay out of jail. So when the SEC is talking about coins being securities, and they have the firepower to come after you and make it very bad, I start thinking. I say, well, the SEC says that proof of work coins like Bitcoin are actually a commodity. Why? Because you have independent miners out there working, expending energy, right, and generating these coins. So that's a commodity, right? The security, just on a POS system, right? A proof of stake, right? We're just creating tokens out of thin air, right? Just by depositing money, they see that as an investment contract, right? So I said, well, here's where I think we're going to have to do. We're going to have to mine the base token and then transition it or bridge it over to Terra Classic. And at that point, the mining is the ones that have been created, they've been created. Wherever they're traded, right? And so where we put together I call it a side chain. It's not really a side chain, but that's how most people can envision it and actually follow along. So we're basically using a platform called multi-chain. I don't really like that name because there's a multi Multi-chain is also a DEX, and that's what most people think of, but it's called multi-chain. And what it is a platform for enterprises, for businesses to create blockchains. And then, organization can create a blockchain with just like a private one within themselves, or they can team up with some other organizations and kind of do like a blockchain just between them. At the end of the day, what it does is creates a private permissioned is a key word there. Why is that important? Well, because businesses need to know who's on their networks, right? Who's doing the work. They can't just have it. They can't just have it open. So that's a very specific blockchain that it's got a very specific a use case. But because it's for businesses, also for enterprises, it's very efficient. It's super efficient because businesses don't like to throw away money, right? Having a bunch of Bitcoin miners, I've got 2 of them, and drawing 6,000 watts. That's, businesses are not interested in that. They're not interested in throwing money away. And that's why this multi-chain was created. Now, it was actually forked from Bitcoin Core. And you can go on their website. It's not my project, so you can go on their website and check it out. And I think it's very, very interesting. But they've got a different type of, so the miners, you can do traditional like Bitcoin style proof of work, or you can do what they call mining diversity is what we're using, right? Which is the more efficient one. And it basically, the miners are almost working together instead of working against each other. And so the idea of having a lot of horsepower or CPU power, or consuming a lot of electricity, things like that, hash rates, like all that doesn't matter because we're working together now. So we can all be equal or use different types of equipment. It doesn't matter. It's all CPU mining, which is great because it gets more people involved. But the one thing that I see your hand up there, PSX. I'll get you in a second. The one thing that I want to stress is that it is proof of work in this creation. The miners, so each block will produce 1,000 base. The miners get to keep 20 base. They get paid in base. What happens is when they turn in their blocks to the admin node then sends a message out to the smart contract on Terra Classic with LUNC, because it has to have LUNC. I'll tell you, remember I said earlier, you can't create base without LUNC, right? With the appropriate amount of LUNC. And then the 20 go to the miners Terra address, and the 980 basically go into the contract for other people to buy. And that's that number that we looked at earlier. Go ahead, PSX. I see your hand up.
Okay, so I have 2 questions, maybe 3, possibly 4.
Oh man,
so, one at a time, bro.
Sorry. I know. I'm just like, hold on, hold on a second. Let me try to collect my thoughts for just a moment. So, one, regarding the mining, do you have any way of, like, have you guys determined how many miners are currently participating, and what's the growth outlook on that?
Okay. So what I will say about the mining piece is the mining. So most people will never have to worry about the mining. You can just forget that the mining exists, right? Because the mining is just there to create, right? Everything is done on Terra Classic, right? So it's a permissioned private blockchain, meaning that you have to get permission from us to mine. And why is that? Well, that's because David and I are taking money from our own paycheck and we're paying the miners. That's why.
Okay.
I can only afford to play so many, you know what I mean?
Right. So you guys are okay. So basically quality. So you have to get really nitpicky. So you guys have, and do you guys have like some sort of process on how to determine like who would be a qualifier for this project, and who would be a best fit for it? Is that a good way? Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So initially, because I mean, the Elbone project has been around for a while, right? But you know, it was just in the noise, right? In the Twitter noise. So initially, I just put out a call and say, "Hey, is anybody interested?" And you know, I got a couple people that are like, "Yeah, sure." And so essentially, at the very beginning, it was kind of first come, first serve, right? Like, "Oh, you're interested?" But right now, I've got some miners that are doing a lot of work on their own, like volunteer work for the project, essentially. And that feels good to me, right? Because I'm like, look at these guys actually care, right? And they're actually trying to do something to not only help our project out, but basically the community out, right? And so I think I want to get to a point where the miners are individuals who are passionate about the project, right? And they can do something. Now, what is that something? I don't know. Like, it depends. You tell me. What are you good at, right?
Right.
Because I have a guy in Spain who likes to do the communications piece, and he's doing that. And then he created that flow chart. I don't know if you guys saw that flow chart that was
I
floating
saw it.
around.
I
That
saw it. Yeah.
he created one in English and one in Spanish, right?
Yeah.
And he's
That
put
was
it
dope.
out there.
Oh, he's got to
What's that?
do one in like in all the well, he needs to do one in like Korean, Vietnamese, Chinese, Cantonese. I mean, gonna need multiple languages.
I think I'm gonna need different volunteers for that because he speaks Spanish and he speaks a little bit of English,
Yeah,
so that's
well,
why he got those
tell
two.
him Google Translator, man. Like, come on,
Oh, that's true.
automation.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. You got me on that one. Yeah, but essentially, I say, hey, if you have any, I don't know, maybe see, I don't. Promoter's a bad word to me, but maybe you just want to spread the word out, and that's what you do on Twitter. Then fine, good. But I don't want to pay. We don't want to pay. I don't know if you saw a tweet that I put out back, like some promoter DM me and they wanted $600 for 7 tweets. I'm like, what?
Wow,
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm like, and so
that's a lot.
well, and that's not uncommon. And so I'm like, well, we already have a few people that are invested. Invested, I don't mean just like money, right? I mean like
Right.
time, or whatever, right? Whatever that means to you. Who can put out a tweet and say like, "Hey, this looks interesting. Check it out," right? Like, so instead of paying that promoter, what we did was just put it into our project.
Okay, so and then regarding and then the you, so I have another question that's replacing the second question. As far as anybody who wants to participate, actually this turned into possibly two questions. You're still
You're losing me, bro.
accepting.
You're losing me.
Sorry, I was like, hold on a second. So as far as like anybody, you're still accepting people to participate in mining? Yes or no?
Well, let's just say I got a few people that I think I need to remove, and
Oh no. Okay, and then
then
if
some spots get opened up.
okay, so and then if anybody who wants to apply to for this opportunity to participate in mining, how would they go about that?
Oh, so I see Crypto Homeless is on here. He's the guy I was talking about.
Oh,
Made the flow charts.
hello.
Anyways, so he approached me. Well, he sent out a message and said, "Hey, we should create some kind of like, I don't know if application is the right word, but like, hey, some way to get information, and then we could figure out who's actually gonna mine." And then so he was starting to work on that, but I told him to hold off because I just needed to figure out who was gonna stay first. And at first I was like, well, really what I wanted to put on there in the application is questions about the white paper. I'm like, if you haven't even read the white paper, you have no business mining for us. All right. But yeah, we'll sort that out. And maybe in the future, like there'll be enough rewards where we can use that to pay the miners, and maybe that'll open it up. I'm gonna throw something else out there, but I'm not gonna talk about it. I also have
Okay.
this idea called virtual mining. Ooh, but no details as of yet. If I do that, then that will really open it up to a lot of people.
Okay. So for the time being, it's not like something that's out there where you can actively start accepting anybody and everybody, or if they want to participate, they can come to you and apply. It's like you're still in the position, just still trying to fill it out, like test it, see where you can upscale. Is that a way to look at it?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to look at it. I would say it's not set in stone, right? So that we can definitely morph it, massage it a little bit, depending on the growth of the project and interest and things like that. Um, for sure, we could potentially accept more miners. Now, you know what? I'll talk to Crypto Homeless, and then we'll see what we can create. Something I think he wants to use Google Forms, and maybe we can collect some data like that.
Is there a minimum requirement for equipment for the mining? I would assume there is.
It's minimal. It's minimal because the chain, so it's not using the Bitcoin style of remember I said that the software can use either or, and so it's like a 1 gig. It's got to be an x86 processor, 1 gig. It's like so minor. It's really minor.
So a computer from the
Sounds like
1980s
fourth
might
gen
work.
tech. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, what is it, like second gen tech that we're talking about?
Yeah. That's the whole point, right? The whole point is, a business. It's whatever. They've got a production environment for. They don't need a computer who's being bogged down by some mining software. We need something that's like 2% CPU power. You know what I mean? And that way the computer is still usable. So people can install the. So the software is available for Linux and in Windows pre-compiled. The Mac version needs to be compiled. I don't have a Mac, so I can't do that. I think I did have somebody who was trying to do it. I don't know if they were successful or not. But yeah, like 3 operating systems, you could run that on. I personally recommend, and I'm not getting anything from DigitalOcean for this, but I have experience with DigitalOcean, and it's really, really easy to create a VPS there, right? So that you have this little machine running in the cloud. I didn't pick the cheapest one. The cheapest one was like $4 a month. I picked the next one up, which is like $6 a month, $6 a month, and that would work just fine. And you don't have to worry about your computer going to sleep or whatever, right? Or internet connectivity. I think DigitalOcean has like a $200 credit, I think, for 60 days, which is, I mean, if you use it for 2 months, I mean, they're gonna take $12 from $200 credit. They're still gonna take the $200 credit away, but I mean, you get to try it for free, right? And so, I think cloud mining is the way to go.
Okay, so another question. Sorry, I'm like totally stealing Jerry's thunder here. I think this is the last question for myself, and then I'll hand it back over to Jerry. So, is another way, like, could we use, like, again, assuming that you'll be able to open the doors for anybody to participate? So we can say, you can say with confidence that if we have like extra spare computers laying around anywhere, like that's more than enough.
Yes.
Okay, because that also raised another point I wanted to bring up regarding because I think it's a long shot, probably a premature long shot there, but there might be an opportunity here where this project of yours can partner up with Edward Kim and his AI project. Because one of the discussions that I had with LDF was that the point of AI, the AI chain, was that it was to help those who have computers laying around put it to good use, to where those machines. So I'm wondering if, like, is there a possible connection somewhere? It's just a thought, more like a brain fart, but something to kind of like put behind your in your back pocket, and something maybe we can you guys can revisit, and Jerry and I could help facilitate those lines of communications between both parties. Just a thought.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I haven't actually tried it, but I'm pretty sure even a Raspberry Pi would work. I hear they're expensive nowadays though because there's a shortage, but you don't need very much. The most critical thing is going to be the internet connection, right? Because if your miner is not there, then it's not going to get a block, right? When it's supposed to, right? So if you got good internet connection and you're just running it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, those raspberries run pretty smooth, actually.
They do, but they were cheaper before.
Yeah, they were like,
and now
you
I
could get one for
heard
$100 at one point.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's any other questions on the mining? So I talk about this, and mining is very interesting to most people because they're like, "What? We're a proof of stake chain. What are you talking about mining?" But I think we talked about it with enough detail that people can understand that the coins are not being created out of thin air. And then there is a transfer from one chain to the other. And if people are not interested in the mining, if people are not interested in any of that other stuff. They don't have to be. Like they can just ignore it. That part can be ignored.
So another question is, do you have any plans on doing anything with other Cosmos chains?
So, okay, like just sending base over to them,
or doing something similar? Because you built it originally on Solana, right? And then Luna Classic. Are there any other chains in your future?
So I guess the most difficult thing is it's not launching on other chains. It is that people are hesitant. So like the Luna Classic community is hesitant to use other blockchains, and therefore, because Elbun and on both on Solana and on Terra 2, I mean the projects are still up. I mean, you can go to those DApps and buy and contribute to the burn, but individuals get hung up. They're like, well, that's on another chain. Why would I do that? And the point is like, well, does it really matter where the money comes from? Like, it doesn't matter what chain actually funds this. As long as the money comes back into Terra Classic, buys Lunk and burns it, like who cares, right? But people, I don't know, people just have a hard time understanding that maybe. And so I don't know if it's worth the effort to actually deploy another chains. Now, who knows? Maybe it is. Like if somebody can approach me and say like, hey, I think X, Y, or Z will work. Let's do it. But I don't want to just take time away and just throw something together on a different chain and then it doesn't see any use. And
no, I get that completely.
Yeah.
I guess I look at the Cosmos a little bit different than a lot of people in the community because Cosmos is the internet of blockchains, so it's like it's almost like it's the same thing, and jumping over to 2.0, and then there's Atom and all those others. It's nice to be exposed to those because as an investor, you want to be diversified, even outside the Cosmos as well. But no, that's interesting. You definitely have to look at the business aspect of things on those business decisions because, like you said, if it's not going to work, then why do it? But 100%.
I think if things go well with Luna Classic, we could potentially look at doing a liquid staking version of different tokens. Is that what you're kind of thinking?
Yeah, I mean, is the swap going to open up and have more to swap? Yeah, is that a thing that could happen?
Well, one thing that would be bad about trying to attach other tokens to the swap is that right now, with the way that Base is working, is it's kind of floats on top of Luna Classic price action, like a little dinghy, So if Luna Classic 5 times, then Base will 5 time. So on top of that, or in the dinghy, we have like a little fish tank, and that's your base price on top of that, So base price can increase on top of Luna Classic price increasing, or inversely, our price could increase as they go down, like just depending on how many Luna Classic are in the contract.
So Base to $1 is going to happen first before Luna Classic. Right.
I tell you, I'm not messing around. Like if you look at that chart, it's very possible. I mean, the circulating supply would have to be, let's see, with a circulating supply of like 58 million base, it would be trading at today's Lunk prices. It would be $1.35, and that would have 122 billion in the reserve, Lunk in the reserve. But think about it, man. Imagine removing that much Lunk, parking that in validators.
Okay, and then the other part, what David mentioned, like liquid staking, if or when this project gets to that point, I mean, that might also help with and again, I'm assuming, it might try not to be premature about it. It also might help stabilize the pricing of Lunk overall, at least to my understanding. I mean, holy shit, that's what White Whale is trying to do. I mean, you guys might even have an opportunity to partner up with them.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I have to take a look at that and see.
Hey Jerry, what do you think? Maybe we can get these guys into contact with Syncom.
Yeah, if you want to talk to him, I think he's back from his vacation this week, later this week. He's
Yeah.
interesting to talk to, even if you guys decide not to go that direction, because the project that he's involved in is just it's really cool.
I just see a lot of opportunities. It's like too many cool opportunities.
Yeah, so I'll let David. Maybe you can handle some of those comms since I'm busy with some other things. But for sure, I would love to explore any and all ideas. Why not?
So I guess the last question before we close: what has been the biggest challenge so far during this entire process?
So I say the biggest challenge, David. You can talk about yours afterwards, but I think for me the biggest challenge was that the documentation for the classic Terra Classic was a little bit outdated, and Terra 2 was a little bit more up to date. So it was very frustrating to get some things to work on Classic when they worked a little bit better on Terra 2. So, but since then we have improved a lot, and so no issues there. And then I guess the second part of that, the hardest thing is just the noise on Twitter's is and some other spaces. There it's just so there's so much noise, so we get lost in the noise, and so even though teams may be working really hard, putting in long hours and doing some great things, sometimes they're just below the noise threshold, and they don't get the attention that they need really to go forward. David, you want to talk about challenges you've seen?
Yeah, that's what I think. The differentiating our project from others has been a challenge, but I feel like we're kind of we broke through that. I see, like, people are adding money in. People are asking questions. I feel like we're in the traction phase where we could kind of start to balloon out from here.
Okay, and guys, we are coming up on a wrap right now. Guys, we want to thank you for your time coming out today and chatting it up with us. It seems like there's a lot of opportunities going on and bright future ahead. With that, we're going to go ahead and close it up because 1 hour, that flew by really quick. Other than that, for anybody else interested with participating with the Bates Token project, we do have the links. And also, I did provide an affiliate link because while you guys were talking, I was setting mine up because I was like, oh, there's an affiliate link. Thanks for pointing that out. So I did post that in the nest. So if you guys want to hit that up, so I get a commission at this, right?
Yes, it's set to 5%. I don't know what the right percentage is, but it's set to 5% right now. If somebody wants to give me some feedback, I mean, I guess we can adjust it.
Cool. Yeah, no worries. And again, that's not financial advice, and do conduct your own due diligence before participating to see if this is a project for you guys that fits your financial needs. And with that, we're going to go ahead and close it off. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks everybody for coming in and listening. And this will be recorded for anybody that missed out on it. And take care. And let's all get based. Let's get into that white paper. Read this. Let's see what this project's about. I'm going to do a deep dive myself, deeper than I already have, because this sounds very interesting to me, and I like it. So yeah, thanks again for coming on, guys. I appreciate it, David and Renzo. Appreciate it.
Sure thing. Out.